In the following interview, Phil Flakes, co-founder of Succession Link, interviews Russell from LPL Financial. Hear firsthand on their experience using the Succession Link platform to facilitate the sale of $52 million in assets under management.
I guess the only questions that I'd probably want to start with that weren't included in the email was just to try and get some understanding about maybe who you are and a little bit more about maybe your practice and how long you've been in the industry.
Been a registered rep since the mid-'80s, and by 1988 acquired the licenses so that I could operate still through a broker-dealer, but operate the home office. You know, at the beginning of my career, had a choice location in downtown San Francisco, working for an established Wall Street firm. At that time, as a parent of two young daughters, I wanted to be home and around the action. So what did it take to set up a home office? I was one of the early brokers to operate independently from a home office. Continued doing that right up until Succession Link helped me transition out of the business, however many years that is. Some years later, your email came in one day saying, "Oh, Succession Link, we help brokers transition out of the business. Here's a free sample, or for $35, we'll give you a month introductory." I signed up for your whatever it was, introductory month. And here, to your credit, this is where you guys came right from the very beginning. And I have it here in front of me now. I'm looking at the email correspondence about your support team, describing to me what it is that you do, what support that you provide, how to get around the community, tips to engage buyers and sellers. And so for me, I knew absolutely nothing about what to do. I never even really thought about selling my business until your email came in one day and said, "Oh, provides an exchange platform for buyers and sellers." I said, "Oh, gee, maybe I'll give this a try." So right from the get-go, I thought that you guys were helpful with providing who you are and what you do. That was a big help. And so I signed up. I believe it may have been in February or March of this year. And I may have put you may even have a copy of it. I didn't keep a copy, but a very simple line to the effect of old goat heading out to pasture, clean business, 50 million under management, contact information. And that was it. The response was overwhelming. To this day, I still can't believe it. Wow. Yeah, the response was overwhelming for the next, I would say, minimally 6-7 weeks. I received inquiries nationwide, legitimate inquiries that were interested in my business, mentioned on your platform a simple 2-line, real, like I say, I might have been to that thing, old goat heading out to pasture, 50 million asset cleaning business, and how many interested parties they were in that. And that's where it began and had a successful conclusion. I'm not even sure how long it took. Handling the amount of responses was a little bit overwhelming for me, trying to keep track of who is who and how to call. But even though I started printing them out, but keeping track of, did I talk to this guy? Yeah, so that part was a little bit, and maybe had I signed up for your full service, which in my opinion, now that I since learned, hey, for $850, you could have a year of this. I kept thinking, why would you want it for a year? Unless maybe you're a buyer of a business and you want to shop around for a year. But for me, the seller response was instant and continuous. And in my mind, I thought it would be like when someone advertises on, not even sure, eBay or one of those things where you put it might sell a E or whatever, but it's buried under all the other people that come in on top of you. And I thought that's what your service would be like. Hey, I put a one line in there one day, and then every day there will be dozens, if not hundreds, of other ads that go on top of my ad, and no one will ever see it after the first day. That's what I thought would happen. I wouldn't have been upset about it. I said, oh, well, but still, that's the shocking thing is 6 weeks later, still to receive calls from different interested parties saying, oh, have you sold your business yet? May we talk?
Well, that's certainly great to hear.
But everybody has that response. But like I say, it was I'm retired and I'm glad to be here at 9 o'clock to catch you. Yeah, it's been retired. It's been nonstop fun action every minute since. So, so you guys are stars in my book.
Thank you. We certainly appreciate hearing that, and I'll make sure to share that with the rest of the team. So a couple of things that kind of came up as you described your experience. So it sounds like you've been in business 30 plus years. Was it around 33 years, did you mention?
Right. Working from the home office as an independent.
And then were you with the same firm throughout all 33 years?
Oh, great question. Two main firms. Most recently, probably 15 years with a regional broker headquartered in downtown San Francisco, and then transitioned to LPL that provided a greater level of service that I wanted in a higher technological platform. Joined LPL for the last 16 years.
Very interesting. So maybe around 2000, what, 1 or
2001
2?
Actually is when I officially joined LPL, 2001. As it turned out, so once I learned from Succession Link the amount of interest in my type of business, everything changed. So all of a sudden, wow, I had my choice of suitors. So,
it is certainly a seller's market. Yep.
Oh, it is. Okay. Yeah. So I drew in, and I was looking for someone that shared my personal philosophies on investment and on client relationships. And through the different meetings, telephone meetings, was where I weeded out many of the buyers who I thought were just after the assets under management. And even some would say, hey, what do you care what we do with it? We're paying you X number of dollars for the book. And and I'm sure many brokers feel exactly like I do. Hey, you have a close bond with these clients that have entrusted us over so many decades. I was looking for a successor that would carry on and what I believe was my best efforts to do the right thing. And so did find Dave. And it was funny. Yeah, a guy, so I told my clients, man, he's half my age and twice as smart.
Okay. So when did you first engage then with, you mentioned it was Dave as the acquirer?
Probably sometime in March is when I first started with you. And my business, we completed the transaction as of July 31st.
That is certainly a very quick turnaround. Okay.
Yeah, I thought so too. And it could have been much earlier, but I deliberately, there was other factors. We deliberately put it off, in this. He had an attorney. I had 2 attorneys. Let's make sure we have all the transition particulars mutually satisfactorily put in writing. So by the time the lawyers worked great together, and on July 31st was the official transition day.
Okay. And so what was it then that stood out about the acquirer that you successfully transacted with versus those that maybe
offered me twice as much money?
Exactly.
Literally. I felt they were out for blood. So I eliminated about 80% who I thought would just go after the assets and my clients being so trusting. Yeah, so I eliminated about 80% that I felt were just out for blood. And then there were another 20% that were definitely key contenders. Yeah, with nice offices and guys that worked together. Yeah, guys that were really squared away and demonstrated. Yeah, so I probably had my choice of, realistically, without exaggerating, 4 or 5 different entities that had realistic, legitimate interest and offers and presented themselves within my personal comfort zone or meeting my personal requirements as suitable successors.
And what were some of those requirements?
My business, for the $50+ million that I managed, was all simple, clean business. No partnerships, no exotics, no leverage this or that, no all the other exotic stuff. Straight stocks and bonds and name brand mutual funds, and a very few, I think maybe 5 or 10% name brand simple basic annuities that were used for legacy transfer more than anything else. So a clean book of business. So none of that. All clean, simple, name brand business. No penny stocks, no low price stocks. So when people saw that book, wow, how nice is this? So I wanted somebody else that was trying to build a business like that as well. And on a real personal note, why this particular ultimate purchaser? Hey, literally half my age, a married guy. That meant something to me. That he had a established marriage relationship, and with a 2-year-old child, and me being a new grandfather, I know the importance of that, and also a guy that raised 2 daughters. So he helped me find a person that I believe would carry on in the tradition that I try to establish with my clients. And even uniquely here, we had our lawyers, he is the lawyer great. I said, hey, but that even after my business is sold for the next 90 days, I want to legally be able to communicate or initiate or receive calls with this client base. And of course, I can't make any sale recommendations or anything like that, of course, buy or sell any of it, but just to have the legal opportunity to communicate with these clients. So if you, the guy that I'm betting on, can be my successor, if anything weird comes up, I want to know about it, and I'll deal with you personally, if it's sold or not. And so he agreed. So yeah, we agreed to that. So that was pretty cool. We have that, and it worked out great. I mean, even to this very minute, I left all my accounts with this broker. That's how much I try. Yeah, my own family accounts and retirement accounts and trust accounts, everything else I left with this broker who succeeded me.
And it seems like we're past that 90-day mark.
Correct, we are.
Okay. And so what did that 90 days look like? Did he meet your expectations in terms of?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I received positive feedback from the clients as well. We met so-and-so, it's not you, but we like him and we think things are going to work out fine. Or some people who would call and say, hey, so-and-so is suggesting we make some modifications or make these changes. And I said, that's another reason that I hired. I couldn't keep up with, or maybe whatever reason, not keeping up with. Yes, there are levels of portfolio management that may be beneficial to my clients that I just don't have a comfortable working familiarity with. As a much younger person, much more astute and energetic, yes, he will bring that to the table for you. And even if it entails, higher fees than I ever charged, if he can deliver in terms of long-term performance, then we'll be well served. So yeah, positive feedback right through that entire 90-day period on both sides, with working with the successor and feedback from the clients. So far, so good.
That's great to hear. And so I guess a couple of questions maybe to wrap things up. What were some of the biggest surprises for you with the platform and then just with this process overall?
The biggest surprises was the amount of response. I never dreamed, but maybe you might get 1 or 2 calls or something. The amount of legitimate response was the biggest number one shock. That was just, what? Oh, and also because of once I found out that how much of as you called it, a seller's market, that I could zero in and find someone that and like I say, there were a number of other very, very, very suitable applicants and potential successors. Absolutely. And I was real pleased to meet these individuals. So although my ultimate successor was my number one pick, I could narrow it down geographically. So there were many, yes. So to your great credit as well, it seems like lots of good brokers are using your service, and all my clients knew it was time for me to go. I'm old goat, age 70, so they knew it was time for me to go, and everybody was totally supportive. And how many letters and gifts clients sent me to, hey, thank yous, and how nice all that was. And so really positive experience with Succession Link. I wish you guys great success.
Thank you.
One of your questions, and I did review your questions there, Phil, is Like, hey, how do we compare with anybody else? I didn't know such things that existed until I got yours. So I don't know. I never looked at anybody else. So I didn't even know such platforms even existed.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, sounds again like timing is everything.
Yeah, it sure was. Yeah, you got it. Timing was everything. Me putting out a feeler, and it turned out that, because I actually thought, wow, our business is so easy. It's not like we're out taking pictures or climbing on ladders. And I genuinely love my clients, and I genuinely love the business and enjoyed. Most of my clients were social contacts, or became social contacts over the years. They know my wife, they know my kids. I mean, it was really enjoyed the business that much. And for a retired age guy, wow, that's a nice supplemental income, just answering the phone and taking care of business. I said, I can do this until Alzheimer's kicks in full bore. And when I saw the interest, and then again having a new granddaughter, I said, it'll be in time for me to step aside here. And you guys made it happen. Oh, how cool.
Well, congratulations. One of the other final questions here was in relation to the terms of the deal. Sounds like it was a pretty quick transition out of the business, but could you maybe elaborate on what those terms look like?
And I will, and I did see that question, and I hesitated a bit, but I did actually, again, prior to this call, I wrote down, so rather than raw numbers, because there are so many variables, and I had no idea, I had the faintest idea, how do you even, again, I never even really thought I'd ever even sell my business. I just didn't know what to have. I thought I'd work till I had hit the keyboard and someone would push me off the chair and take over. Yeah, these multiples of assets under management, multiples of revenue stream, and all these different means of assessing it. But it was once we reached a ultimate comfortable dollar amount, or a satisfactory dollar amount. And in my particular case, I was willing to receive a down payment of about 15%. I don't know if that's low or high, but might be low. I received a down payment of 15% of the agreed upon price, and I personally I'm carrying the balance at 5% interest for 60 months with prepayment conditions and all that sort of a thing. And I'm satisfied, and that's it. So I don't know if that, and because I don't know other brokers, I don't know anything about anybody else that's ever bought a business or sold a business, or do I care? But because of that's of some interest to you, when you guys look at all the metrics or big numbers. But in my particular case, there was an agreed upon dollar amount, and how do we facilitate that? Oh, here's a down payment, this amount, and if you carry this balance, you will be repaid monthly at a 5% interest rate until the note, for 60 months. I think how it worked. If it was paid off in the first 2 years, there was some kind of a prepayment factoring in, but after 2 years, the note could be paid off in full. And that seemed satisfactory to both of us.
Got it. And did a lending firm come in to help and assist with that 15% down payment?
Not to my knowledge. I think the guy just wrote me a check, and that was it.
Okay. Well, no, that's certainly helpful. So what's next for you then, Russell, in retirement?
The day that I drove, the final day, even though it was on the 31st, on the August 4th, I think it was, on the final day when I drove the remaining trunk load of file boxes in the trunk of my car, but the day that I delivered my final files to him, all anchor boxes and organized, and I'm pretty squared away also. We laughed, my wife and I, we drove our Infiniti to the car lot near where he lives and traded it in for a Chrysler Town and Country minivan, and already we've made trips to Colorado and back to see the granddaughter, one trip down to San Diego to see some of my old Marine Corps buddies. We just got back from Washington, D.C. for the 242nd anniversary of the Marine Corps birthday and the 35th anniversary of the Vietnam Memorial Wall, where I was honored to be one of the wreath placers there. And
wow,
I came back yesterday from San Francisco to make this appointment in part. So I've been nonstop fun action every minute of every day. And while I'm lucky enough to have good health and reasonably sane, I'll continue on until time to slow down. But just absolutely loving every minute of it.
That is awesome to hear.
Oh, look, best to you. Happy Thanksgiving. And
Thank you, Russell. All right. Happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy your travels.
All right.
All right. Bye.